All right, a quick how-to on how to fill nail holes and trim. So come on over here. We made some brad nail holes. Sometimes they're bigger than this, but this is just for demo purposes. We use the high strength small hole filler by 3M, and that's a spackle. And there's two ways to do it. You can do it with your finger. By the way, this is a pretty dry product. It's not like you'd think of like a drywall mud or something. It's kind of chalky, and it's the way it's supposed to be. So what we want to do is we want to slightly overfill it. So you can either use your finger and slightly overfill it. What you don't want to do is make it super messy and clunky because you have to sand off all the excess. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to wipe it flat, because then as it dries it's going to shrink a little bit and it's going to still be a divot. We want to overfill it slightly. You can also use a putty knife on the flat surfaces. On the flat surfaces, that's my preferred method because you can kind of push it in. I'm going to actually wipe it off and then I'm going to overfill it slightly. And for me, that's pretty fast. You typically, when you get the hang of it, you can kind of do it in one pass like that and move on. And if it's too much, you can always just kind of scrape it off around it so you don't have to sand it as much. Now in the profiles, you have to use your finger. So you'll get good at your finger and just kind of pushing it in. It's very important that you push it in because you don't want it to just be sitting on the surface and fall off when you go to sand it. Secondly, very important, use a light. You cannot fill what you cannot see. So when you shine a light on it, all of a sudden everything becomes super visible. And so before you're done with the space, take the light, run it over everything, make sure it's all good. Then when that dries, which only takes 5 to 10 minutes, you want to sand it. And so actually we're going to bounce to this. This here is for small cracks and dings and stuff that are either too small or too shallow for this stuff. The main difference is this stuff, like the particulate in it, is really coarse. So imagine you have a very small hole that's like, say, a third of this size. I'm just gonna make up a number. Say there could be 100 particles of this product in there, whereas it'd be like 10,000 of these particles. So it's gonna bond a lot better too in small cracks and things where this is not an option. So you can fill it with this. Okay, so for sanding, ideally, we want to do what we can with a power sander for speed. Profiles you'll have to do by hand, but we use 220 for paint grade on this sander for flat. You can also use a random orbit sander. I typically use this sander because I can get right up to the floor and up to other surfaces without it damaging it. And then you're just going over it really quickly, sanding it flat, and that's all it takes. You should see essentially like the dark circle where it was actually filled in, and then it's okay if there to be a light residue because chances are that's not actually a hump. If it's dark like that, either there was a dent, which is the case in this material, or that means you didn't sand it enough, right? Like you should see the defined hole that you filled. Now I'm going to show you how to sand with by hand real quick. So let me grab some other sandpaper. We use the fine sanding blocks oftentimes for sanding profiles, and this also, because it's fairly stiff, you can sand flats with it as well, but you can get in and sand profiles. It's flexible enough that it will kind of bend, but it's not so flexible like these pads, for example. These are so flexible it won't actually really knock down the spackle. So use these stiff sanding pads when needed to sand profiles. And the goal is to get it so you cannot see the holes. You want it to look like everything just grew on the wall. All right, that's what you got.